It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we move into a Tuesday, if you went to McDonald's and you wanted to take an informal vote and you use those things that you put in the cups, would that be a straw vote?
I don't know.
Could
In California,
we do a straw vote?
No, not in California.
No, paper straw vote.
Oh, it's a paper straw. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know what the situation
And they're
is
really
in California
horrible.
now.
And when I say paper straws suck, I mean it in every possible way.
Before we get to the meat of all the issues, can we start the show with a song?
Sure.
You know, we don't do that enough. We don't play enough music.
We don't have enough music. We should play more music.
Exactly. We need to play a little bit more music.
It's what our boss always says. Hey, can you guys shut up every once in a while and play a song?
All right, let's play a song here. Here we go. All right.
A presidential song for anyone. One Nation Under a Groove by Funkadelic. One nation under a groove, getting down just for the funk of it. Can I get it on the...
I'm going to send Doug Emhoff flowers.
God.
Or maybe some noise-canceling headphones. Wow. Okay.
All right, we've got to go back to McDonald's because the left just can't get off it
Because they got our order wrong. And because the left can't get... No, it's fine.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right, here's AOC yesterday, all right? Okay, here we go.
Donald Trump putting on a little McDonald's costume because he thinks that's what people do. They're not trying to empathize with us. They are making fun of us. They are making fun of us. Donald Trump thinks that people who work at McDonald's are a joke.
Well, I don't think that's the case, but I would definitely be making fun of her.
Where is it here? I want to get to there was the Newsweek. Here it is, the Newsweek article.
All right.
Rumors have been circulating on social media that former President Donald Trump's visit to a popular food restaurant chain was staged. Was Donald Trump's McDonald's shift staged? Rumors have been saying. I mean, it just goes.
They seriously, like, they stopped it. Come on, everybody, come in early. Come on, we got a meeting in the middle of the newsroom. Everybody, sit down.
I saw that. So the first things I saw yesterday when I woke up, I'm like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, right. This is just stupid. Has Woodward written a book on it yet? There's got to be one in the works. A few good fries. What is it? How does it come down? You know, that's exactly what the sense was yesterday. The Washington Post, something, I was trying to find the headline because it came up in my thread, but it was something to the effect of Donald Trump's stop at McDonald's didn't prove Harris lied about working there. Something to that effect. And do you guys, what are you doing? What is going on? What is actually happening right now that you're so in? I don't know. There's no self-awareness. You're so into yourself that you've got to take that story seriously. How do you lose your mind over a photo op.
Well, it was. I'll play the audio cut. I have an audio cut somewhere here of CNN talking about it, saying what a great move by Trump. That, and we said it yesterday, and anybody who's listened to this show knows that we have in 2020. I mean, we were getting pounded for saying, just going after Trump for not campaigning in the right way.
Right.
It was just horrible.
Right.
2016, he did a relatively good job of campaigning early on, especially before you really got, I think, to the spring of 2016. I remember I think it was September or October of that year when the primary debates were just starting. We just went, wow, he was campaigning tremendous. 2020 was horrible. I will say that, and again, you're never going to get 100% of what you want or what I want in a campaign.
Yeah.
But I will say that since the black journalist interview, since that point, I don't think Trump has made any type of error. And whatever happens on Election Day happens. I think that the Trump campaign has run a very good campaign, irrespective of what happens. If he doesn't win and she wins, that's an indictment of the American people.
Well, think about 2016. The first surrogate really that was on board completely was Jeff Sessions, right?
Yes.
So here you have old school establishment coming in, and he was about it for a while, unless it was people that were named Trump. And that was, and there were a lot of people that were like, they just wouldn't, he couldn't find the right surrogates. And you kind of need those. Now, look at all the surrogates that he has.
Yeah.
And the capability of each of them is through the roof. It's very impressive. It's also very encouraging about the future of the GOP. If he wins, great. They've got a lot of work to do. I mean, it's they're going to have to get down to it from day one. But if he doesn't win, I have confidence in the GOP going forward. Here's the headline that I was talking about from the Washington Post. No, McDonald's didn't confirm Trump's baseless claim about Kamala Harris. Are you guys serious when you write that? When you write that headline, are you serious? Has everybody just lost their ever-loving mind? It was a photo op, and, I saw pretty much what you saw. There were several takes on it. Like, this is the kind of stuff that can put him over the election. I don't know about that. I'm not going to go that far. But I'm telling you right now, for his base, it worked for him. The left's reaction to it tells you everything.
I'm just very quickly here, because Brian Stelter, we read what he said yesterday. For security reasons, Trump's McDonald's visit was carefully staged ahead of time with drive-through customers selected and screened by Secret Service. Matt Walsh responded, wait, are you telling me Trump isn't actually an employee of McDonald's? Massive scandal. I am stunned.
Yeah.
And that's, he was getting pounded all day on it. But you also had, for example, Cenk Uygur, who is as liberal as you can get.
Right.
Part of the, what were they called before? The Young Turks. Remember that?
Yeah.
The Young Turks.
Yeah.
And, the woman in that, I can't think of her name right now, has completely rejected Democrats. But Cenk Uygur said yesterday, he said, masterful. He didn't use that word, but he just said, if you're saying, what Democrats, how they're responding to it is wrong, that was masterful what Trump did. And the point I was trying to bring up is nobody who listens to us can say whatever Trump says, we're going to be in agreement with it, or whatever Trump does, we're going to be in agreement with it, because that's the furthest from the truth. The opinions that we hold and we believe are 100% ours. And we stick to them. Anybody who knows us knows that we have stuck especially to economic principles. We've always had the exact same thing. There may be, some political things that we have changed, changed on. But for the most part, if you look at where we have stood, and I know for you, since I've known you now 20 years, are we into the 20th year?
We're in our 20th year.
I mean, the full 20 years will be next July, but my God.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I've never been in a relationship that long.
Yeah, let's be careful. That's a big word, relationship.
Okay. I've never been in a personal or professional relationship that long. Have I covered that?
Qualify it, would you?
I covered all.
Yeah.
Covered all the ground.
Be careful when you skate out on that thin ice there.
And if I thought it looked contrived or whatever, I mean, understanding that we know what's going on, it's campaigning. You're trying to set an image there, but I will say it's more than just his base. That's what I liked about it. One of the things about Trump is the media promotes only the mainstream media and have been the bombastic side of him, which is a part of who he is. That's part of his personality, and that's fine. Everybody has, a great deal of, range in their personality. He can be extremely blunt.
Yeah.
He can be extremely insulting. But what people have now seen over the last year, and I mean because of lawfare and everything else, think about this. The lawfare of him sitting there and coming out, and you've seen where the public has gone on and seen that lawfare has completely been destroyed against Trump. You think about last week, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but for Jack Smith to come out, all right, we got him on this, and now 900,000 more pages, I may be exaggerating a little bit, showing what Trump did, people looked at it and go, okay, these allegations are already out there, means nothing. But I think the lawfare actually humanized him.
We said it back then. There was a change in the tone. Yeah.
And the one thing that the left thought that they had against Trump is you can't, that he, because of his style, and they, because of them promoting and lying about the things that he, for example, Charlottesville or, suckers and losers and everything else, making stuff up and continuing with those lies over and over again, and the whole Russia collusion where he's a traitor and everything else and doesn't care about the United States and is in cahoots with the communist, the leader of Russia. They're almost back to communism now.
No.
But they were sure he could never be humanized, and with the lawfare and everything else, he could. You see, just the final impressions that people are getting of Trump really come from the hurricanes on. And everything is about caring about, not that he's out there, but that's not really getting, they're not even covering, they did a little bit, what was the thing about when he went off on a tangent, what was it? Arnold Palmer's genitals. I have no idea what that was.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nobody cared. They brought that on. He was talking, and he's crazy. No, it's just Trump telling a stupid joke. Trying to make a joke. And at times, like all of us, he can fail in a joke. Or it isn't exactly what you wanted to promote if you could do it over again. But nobody cares about that. They don't care about that. What they've seen is a Trump out there saying, I care about you. One of the things that you and I said, well, I think I said it. I believe I said it first. I'm not that it's a competition. I want to make that clear. I don't want to ruin this relationship by trying to one up you in any way.
Okay. Use that word again.
I think it was September of 2015 when I said the left doesn't get it. The message that Trump is sending to people is that I love Americans. I love America, and I love Americans, and Americans come first. And they've completely lost. And what you've seen over the last, since the hurricanes, not that he wasn't doing it before that, but the last impressions of Trump, everything is about I care about you. And I think that the going to the McDonald's and just the way that it was done, the camera angles, I mean, everything that was done, of course it was staged, but it hit home. And he genuinely cared about the people that were coming up. He cared about the people that were there. Did you see the Newsweek story also? That restaurant at one time got in trouble because employees weren't washing their hands. And we have a report, it was from some liberal outlet, that Donald Trump didn't wash his hands before he served the food. Uh-huh. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is just, it's getting to the point of just lunacy out there. Yeah. But it was very effective. And you and I were talking in the pre-show meeting. We'll expand on it. I didn't get yesterday from the Democrats. Walz is on The View and talking about that he can shoot better and he has trophies. She's on with Liz Chaney. Yeah. And he's back to hurricane country.
Right.
I don't get what they're doing.
I don't either.
866-90 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. As the seasons change, so does truck maintenance. Cold weather can affect everything from your batteries and air brake system to tire inflation and fuel lines. Here's a maintenance tip to help make sure your rig is ready when winter comes knocking. Have your batteries tested by a certified technician. Dead batteries are one of the most common causes of winter breakdowns. Testing them now will indicate whether or not they can keep up with electrical demands of your truck this winter. When you have your batteries tested, check the alternator for sufficient amperage and voltage output as well. Find a professional technician near you to have your batteries and alternator tested today, so you'll be ready when the seasons change.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So, I mean, just yesterday was one of those days where because we ended the show yesterday saying, okay, where are the campaigns, where are they going to go from this point on? And, you see, the follow-up, I mean, just the insanity of the Democrats and the McDonald's thing. I believe that's going to die now because they couldn't get anything out of it. But her with the Liz Chaney tour, I don't get it.
Well, I don't know who that is appealing to. They think, this is the whole idea of putting Liz Chaney on the bogus January 6th committee. Okay, she hates Trump. I get it. She's willing to throw out every legal basis and also the process by which committees are formed and how you go through that process along the way. All that is thrown out because of her hatred for Trump. It really comes back to that. It goes straight back to that at every turn. How is that appealing to anyone? It wouldn't matter who's running against Trump. She would endorse them. She hates Trump. That doesn't bring you anything. If you're talking about this is the most qualified person, then you back it up with a list of qualifications. That's not going to happen with Kamala Harris.
Because the only thing that Liz Chaney brings politically has already been vetted by the entire nation over the last 3.5 years.
Yeah.
That's already been vetted. That's the problem. There is no new territory. That you're not learning anything about Kamala Harris. They're simply repeating the same things about Trump that have already been vetted hundreds of times.
Right.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. Yeah, so it was a weird day yesterday, the Kamala Harris mini tour with Liz Chaney, and I'm just shaking my head saying, what was the purpose of it? She was horrible answering questions. Liz Chaney comes across as the most depressed woman on the planet Earth.
She just has
Constantly.
She has a depressed look on her face.
Yes.
Like she's about to start crying at any moment.
But I want to play just a couple of things from yesterday. Here's one from Kamala Harris. This may be a little cringe here because it's like, I don't understand it. Here we go.
I'll tell you, and I know this is a controversial topic for many of us, I love Gen Z. Because we have Gen Zs in our lives. We have kids who are Gen Zs. It can be complicated, I know. I love Gen Z.
And how she starts out serious, like it's a serious topic. I know this is controversial.
Yeah, like she's about to say something significant.
And this, as she talks about whatever. Here we go.
If I can just speak to what people are feeling. We cannot despair. We cannot despair. You know, the nature of a democracy is such that I think there's a duality. On the one hand, there's an incredible strength when our democracy is intact. An incredible strength in what it does to protect the freedoms and rights of its people. Oh, there's great strength in that. And it is very fragile. It is only as strong as our willingness to fight for it. And so that's the moment we're in. And I say do not despair because in a democracy, as long as we can keep it in our democracy, the people, every individual has the power to make a decision about what this will be. And so let's not feel powerless. Let's not let and I get it, overwhelming nature of this all make us feel powerless, because then we have been defeated. And that's not our character as the American people. We are not one to be defeated. We rise to a moment, and we stand on broad shoulders of people who have fought this fight before.
Okay, I'm done.
She sounds like somebody who's already lost.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like, you know what I love is the excitement we're seeing out here on the campaign trail. What I love is seeing the smiles on people's faces. They're carrying with them this excitement. They're bringing other people to these stops on the campaign trail. I love that. Let's keep that going because we're going to win November 5th. That's not what you just heard. Let's not despair. Listen, if we lose, we lose. That's basically what I just heard. That sounds like somebody who was already defeated.
It was almost as if this was a concession speech.
Yeah.
That I've lost, but let's try to keep our heads up. But what the people care about is how are you going to lower the prices?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to secure the border? How are you going to help bring crime down in the cities? We all saw that the FBI statistics have been reevaluated, and magically, crime has gone up, especially in the cities.
Oh.
Saw an article yesterday saying that's one of the big things that might, put Trump over the top in places like Pennsylvania because of crime inside the city. That you really don't, if you live in the suburbs, you don't notice it. Because this is one of the things that we've talked about when they kept saying, crime is down, crime is down, crime is down, crime is down, or hasn't gone up and hasn't gone up. Well, you have to talk about where. And in most of the suburbs over the last few years, no, crime has not gone up. In the cities where Democrats have promoted to fund the police, that's where crime has gone up.
Yeah.
That's where the insanity,
Right.
that's where the insanity exists right there. So you look at it, well, crime has not gone up around the country. Well, where has it gone up? Has it gone up anywhere at all? Oh, actually, it has gone up, and it's really gone up in the cities.
Yeah.
And that's what people care about. No one needs her to explain the United States of America to me in very, very general terms.
Right. Yeah. Well, and why would you use the word despair? Despair is one of those words you keep off the campaign trail.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of empowering. It's the opposite of encouragement. It sounds like to me, she's dying to spill those internal numbers everybody's talking about. It sounds like to me, she already knows. That's what it sounded like in that soundbite we just heard. That's what it sounded like.
And then Walz is on The View, and I'm just like, well, there's nothing coming from this at all. What's the point of this? I'm shaking my head yesterday. I'll give you the one because then when they talked about guns, here we go. Okay.
So you're out hunting pheasants.
Yep.
Is that enough to convince people there's a middle ground on this issue? Because right now, right-wingers are coming after you for how you handle your shotgun.
Well, I can shoot better than all of them. I guarantee it. I got the trophies to prove it.
Yeah, but participation trophies don't count in the real world.
Yeah.
But I mean, just like nobody gives a damn. Nobody
By the way,
cares.
the pheasant has no common ground with you.
But nobody gives a damn. Nobody cares. Did you see where she talked about Joy Behar? Can we find some common ground on what?
Yeah.
On hunting?
Yeah.
Nobody cares about that. It's not an election issue. Meanwhile, what do you get from Trump yesterday? You got him out there again in North Carolina, and here's what you get.
Thank you. What I'll just say is the Speaker of the State House, I've not gotten a single call from the White House, but this man and his team have been in touch with us from day one. And, Mr. President, I appreciate that and looking forward to seeing you back in the White House. Thank you, sir.
That's the Speaker of the North Carolina State House. But, I mean, that's what you see yesterday where he is, and they're doing this. I'm blown away. I'm blown away because it's so bad. There is no direction.
Yeah.
There's just no for the Democrats I'm talking about, not but Trump is out there, like I said, the McDonald's thing, and I want to see because I mentioned Cenk Unger, the liberal. Also, you had, I think CNN was also, they had a panel discussion on it, and trying to see where it is here. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. Here's where they're talking about McDonald's on CNN on the morning show.
All right.
Okay, here we go.
I have to say, when I first saw that image of Trump kind of hanging out the drive-through window, a part of me thought, wow, is that real? I never thought he would do something like that. The Trump that we saw in 1999 in that old ad is the one that was much more familiar to me. Like, look, we're going to run this town, right? Like someone who owns a McDonald's, not someone who works in one. I mean, clearly they have a strategy to try to appeal to working class voters, try to, twist the knife on Harris. But I still found these images to be jarring.
Well, part of what is so striking about them is that he's not trying to not be Donald Trump. Like some politicians go and they try to dress up as somebody they're not. He's still got the red tie. He's still so clearly himself. And I think this was an unbelievably smart move because one thing that has differentiated Donald Trump from other really wealthy politicians is that he has never been seen as the aloof, the billionaire who would never deign to hang out with the commoners. Like, he has always sort of portrayed himself as, I'm the rich guy who doesn't really like the other rich guys. I'm one of you. And this is part of this. I think.
And so that's you've got those 2 days. You've got Sunday and then you've got Monday, and that's what you had. And meanwhile, Harris and Walz, I mean, I don't know what they're doing. I can only imagine what it must be behind the scenes if the polls are accurate. And I did post yesterday on my X feed where is it here? Let me get to where's my profile? It was really interesting. Kellyanne Conway put it out. And by the way, people don't realize Kellyanne Conway actually was the one. Remember when she went to Trump in 2016 and said, "Don't make it sound like you're losing already."
Yeah, the last 3 weeks. That's exactly what I was thinking about when we were listening to Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
You sound like you've already lost. And I was thinking of that moment where Kellyanne Conway said she had to go to Trump saying, because he was saying it's rigged, it was rigged, it was rigged. And you look at that situation, and she was saying, she said, I had to stop him and tell him, you sound like you've already lost. Quit saying that.
And so we'll get to some of it because it's really interesting when you compare 2016, 2020, and 2024. Mm-hmm. It's like, whoa. And this is the RCP average, which I don't necessarily view as being accurate because they take very inaccurate polls as compared to 2020.
Yeah.
But you can look at the difference. You can look at the state by state and national. You can see the huge difference. The thing is, it's really amazing. The national RCP average, just so people know, of Hillary Clinton, she was up by 6.2 points in 2016. All right. Harris, this is in the RCP average. Harris is up by 1. And as we know in other polls, the polls that were the most accurate have Trump in the lead. But that's all the polls together. That's massive movement.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you look at it. Look at Ohio, for example. The RCP average 2016, Trump 0.4, Trump 0.6 in 2020, Trump up 7 in 2024. Wow. And you look at this. Michigan. Clinton in 2016 was up by 12 points. Biden 7.8, Trump 1.2 in Michigan.
Yeah.
Those are massive, swings.
Yeah.
In those particular states. And we'll have Florida, 2016, Clinton 4.3. 2020, Biden 2.1. Florida, Trump 7.8.
Yeah.
I still don't believe the numbers in Texas, even though Trump's up. And now you see that as we get closer now, you've got Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we get closer, is doing better. I still don't believe the numbers.
No, I don't either. I don't know why there is, a problem in the polling, but I don't believe those numbers.
Yeah, I think the latest is like Trump up 5.7.
Yeah, is
what it is.
Yeah, I think he's up by more.
Yeah, so do I. All right, so we'll get to that. So much to talk about. New poll out there, 80%. This is the kind of thing, if you wonder what's going to change the election, what are people thinking of? 80% now. It's just taken. 80% of U.S. adults say they're worried about the economy. 80%.
Yeah, I mean.
That's it right there.
And the other 20% are living with mom and dad. And that's what it's coming down to.
866-98-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I just saw this quote. Daily Wire had this. James Carville's reaction to Trump at McDonald's. He's doing a Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden. Carville's starting to lose it, now.
Yeah.
I think he senses the direction of the polling and the internal polling. I did see, did you read, was it Jim Garrity yesterday in National Review? We'll get to this following the top of the hour, was talking about the fact that, all right, Trump's doing good, but how can this, don't underestimate Kamala Harris because everybody calls her an idiot and all this stuff. But this is 50-50, and there's been a lot of men, Democrats, that couldn't get to this. So you can't underestimate her, and you got to give her credit. Basically, should we give her credit? No. She's an empty vessel. She's not offering anything.
If people want to put blinders on or use, basically, again, their hatred for Trump to vote for her, that's one thing. There is no excitement for her.
But the question would be, well, then why would Americans vote for her? We'll have an answer, and we won't be giving the answer. Coming up.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. Hi, he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara.
Hello.
All right, this question comes up once in a while. I mean, it's something that we brought up a long time ago when we said, if you look at the issues alone, Trump should be winning in a landslide. Mm-hmm. But there are some people that just won't vote for Trump no matter what.
Right.
Because if you look at the actual issues, by the way, that's why Trump is winning. Trump's winning on the issues. Yeah. And you have a unique situation here in American politics that doesn't happen very often, hardly ever happens, where you have somebody who was president 4 years ago who was running again.
Right.
And against this is very rare, extremely rare. I don't know if it's ever happened in American political history. I know it hasn't in modern political history, who did not win one primary vote, was actually appointed by the elite of the Democratic Party.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the story out yesterday that it was all Pelosi?
Yeah, which we kind of figured as much, but yeah.
But we'll get to that here in a little bit.
Mm.
But the question would be, why isn't Trump just winning by 20 points? And Jim Garrity in National Review had this yesterday. There's this nagging complication. If Kamala Harris is as stupid as her critics claim, why does she have the Democratic presidential nomination and a roughly 50-50 shot at being the first female president in U.S. history? Do you know how many ruthlessly ambitious Democratic men and women have desperately yearned to get where she is? How many smart, tough, shrewd, often underhanded and cold-blooded politicians have tried to claw their way up the greasy pole and have fallen short? And somehow this dunce managed to do it? Well, she didn't do anything.
Right. She didn't manage anything.
Yeah. Garrity at times can be funny, but I have no idea where he's going on this one unless, I don't know. It sounds more emotional than critical thinking. And that's not something I've really ever said about Jim Garrity. But in this one, it's like, what are you talking about? You don't understand what's going on?
Mm.
What do you mean that she has the Democratic presidential nomination? Actually, she was appointed.
Right.
They didn't follow the primary process. And as we got from that, remember the Democrat who called us, who's not going to vote for Harris? What was he? He was a delegate.
He was a delegate in Texas.
He was a delegate from Texas, said can't do it. He goes, they didn't follow the rules.
Right.
We all know that democracy, the normal process of democracy in a primary system was not followed with the Democrats. So that's a useless point from Jim Garrity. And so it's like she's there. She was appointed. She didn't win the vote to get the Democratic presidential nomination. In fact, when she ran last time, she came in last place.
Yeah.
She never made it.
No.
To the first primary.
Right.
And blamed Democrat racism for the fact that she was out.
Yep.
And so it's important that we remember that.
Yep.
But if you want to know why Kamala Harris, to see what, to use it, he says roughly 50-50 shot at being the first female president in U.S. history. Why she's there, we don't have to tell you. We will simply play. Ramaswamy was at University of North Carolina yesterday on the brainwash tour about people being brainwashed.
Right.
And he spoke to this one student. And if you want to know why Kamala Harris is still up there in the polls, it is because of what this student tells Ramaswamy yesterday.
Hi, Vivek. As someone who has come across brainwashed leftists on campus, one of the moments my friends and I have seen them the most brainwashed is when it comes to climate change. Last year, around this time, we set up a table on campus, dressed up as Captain Planet, encouraging students to sign a petition banning dihydrogen monoxide, better known as water, to combat climate change. On its face, it sounds like a waste of time, but we ended up getting over 100 signatures to ban water.
There you go. Right there. That's the reason.
Yep. No, that's it.
That's it. You don't need to go any further. It's not that she's, again, this incredible politician. Got nothing to do with that. We all know it. She has not run a good campaign. It's because right there that you can sit there and use the technical term, the chemical term for water, and people will want to ban it. Leftists will say, let's ban it. Ignorance, in many cases, willful ignorance, is the reason.
Yep. Yeah, look, and plus their disdain for Trump, which quite often actually stems from that same willful ignorance because, like Michael Rappaport finally admitted, he bought into the lie about Charlottesville. He said, he was discovering over the last year all these things they said about him were lies. And look, he took responsibility for that. But if you're going to wear the blinders and, for whatever reason you're trying to fit in or whatever it is, you're going to let that willful ignorance carry that disdain for Trump. And there it is. That's how she can win. She didn't accomplish anything. She didn't manage, Mr. Garrity, to get anywhere. It was over for her December 23rd of 2019. And if not for Joe Biden insisting on picking a black woman, because he said that, his words, Joe Biden's words, I know that it will be a black woman when choosing his Veep candidate, then if he hadn't chosen her, she'd gone back to, I don't know, the Senate or wherever she was going to go. In that blue bubble of California, it doesn't take much as a Democrat to win. Just put that D by your name and win the primary, and you're pretty much going to win with few exceptions. Orange County, Kern County, and a few districts here and there. But in the Senate race, she was going to win as long as she won the primary, and she did. And those are the things that we look at. How do you get to where you are? Look, we said it about Obama when it was Tom Hanks. Did a 9 or 10 minute video about how it was time for this country to vote and elect a black man for president. Didn't once mention qualifications. And we said if we were part of the Obama campaign at the time, we would have called Mr. Hanks. Thank you, Mr. Hanks, for doing this. We greatly appreciate it. But could you do it again and this time bring up some qualifications of the individual? This is how the left thinks. it's not, when you look at the qualifications, when you want to break down, okay, who's better qualified, who has better experience. There's only one person in this race right now who has experience as a president, and his name is Donald Trump. She has no experience in governing. None. None. And she didn't get here because she had governed. It's not like she came from, a governorship. At least her Veep has that. He doesn't really have much else, and I think as a governor, he gets a poor grade.
You know what I find fascinating? Had my daily conversation with my father yesterday. And my father, when he was in the working world, and even when my mother was alive, talk radio was on all day.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, it would be on when I would go back on vacation. At times I would, I didn't want to tell her what to listen to. And I'm like, I got to leave. And when you're in radio and when you've been a brand manager, okay,
Yeah.
what they call it, program director used to be the term, a brand man, and I was a station manager also. The thing is, when, not that I can't listen to talk radio, I used to listen, well, not when I started working this shift as much because it just I wasn't up
right
when Rush was on, but there are talk radio hosts that really influenced me in the past. One of the things is when you go on vacation, you don't want to listen to talk radio, whatever it is.
Right.
And that's just because you analyze it. You're doing work. You're analyzing the show. You're analyzing the formatics of the show. You know exactly what I mean. You're saying, okay, what are they doing there? What are they doing there? What are they doing? In your mind, you're right back to work again.
Yeah, I was talking to, in fact, over the break of the holiday, I ran into a meteorologist for WFAA where we were out and about, and I talked to him for a good while, in fact, and we were both saying how, I don't listen to much radio. And he was talking about, when you're in TV. And it's the same thing. When I met my wife, she was in television. I was in radio. She didn't watch television. She didn't own a TV when I met her. And, and I didn't listen to much radio. But it's because you're always hyper analyzing, what's going on the air.
Well,
and
one of the biggest compliments we've ever received since I mentioned Rush was from Tyler Cox.
Yeah.
Who was one of Rush Limbaugh's first bosses in Sacramento.
Right.
And do you remember what he said to us the one time? He said, there's only been 2 shows I didn't tell people what to do. One was Rush, because he wouldn't have listened to anyway, and the other show was yours. I mean, that was
right.
But the one time where he said, and he let us know, because at that point he was working, he was the brand manager, program director, whatever you want to call it, whatever the new term is for it, of our flagship station WBAP. He was no longer our boss at the time, though, because we had then gone to Westwood One.
Right.
And he, remember when he said he was listening one day, and he said I was listening to you guys for 45 minutes and I was dying laughing. And then I realized by the time I got to work and turned it off that I wasn't working.
Yeah.
Which means he wasn't analyzing. I was so into what you guys were talking about, I wasn't analyzing what you were doing. And that's what I mean by work.
Right.
You just don't do it. But my mother was always listening to talk radio. So my father was keeping abreast of everything. Since my mom died 4.5 years ago, my father just doesn't listen to talk radio. But my sister is there as his, really full-time taking care of my dad. And she wasn't into politics at all. I would say as recently as 5-6 years ago, she ignored it. I don't want to hear it. It's funny now because I'll call my dad my dad he does now. And over the last year or so, I'd be like, Dad, this is what the Democrats are about. And remember, my dad's father was a Democrat, but not old school Democrat, not the kind of Democrat today. Right. He would have never been a Democrat today, my grandfather. My father's shocked. And it's funny because my sister, I'll say something, well, Dad, the radical transgender movement, they're talking. We had this conversation. He's like, come on. No, what do you mean? You mean they're trying to say a man could be a woman? It was amazing because he just wasn't listening to talk radio. And he's older. I mean, it's a whole different ballgame when you get to be his age. You're not sitting there obsessed with politics anymore. Getting out of bed and taking a shower is a huge thing to do at 98 and a half years old. Mm-hmm. Being able to do that, just taking care of yourself is a full-time job. But it's just interesting how, my father, when I tell him what's going on, he's just like, you got to be kidding. And I laid out to him the issues of the election yesterday. And he just went, well, good God, why isn't Trump up by 30 points? I said, I know. And I said, you're absolutely right. He goes, and look, there's stuff I don't agree with Trump. And I go, yeah, but that's a known. When I hate saying that because it's a given to everybody. Nobody agrees with everybody 100%. I mean, you just don't. But it's just funny how my sister is in the background, and because of the computer, she really doesn't watch TV. It's online. And she made her own decisions. And I had asked her, because we never really talked about politics. I said, well, a few years ago, didn't you lean more Democrat? She goes, no, I just didn't pay attention to the news. I'm like, okay. We're not going to cause a family fight here.
Right.
But she'll, she's, because of the internet. And she's just like, Dad, Gary's right. And it's funny because you're not a talk show host to your parents.
Right.
You're just their son.
Right.
It's like, Dad asked me that about 6 months ago. He goes, where do you get your information from? I mean, well, the research we've done. So you've done this research? It's like, Dad, I'm a radio.
It's all we do.
It's all I do. I'm a radio talk show.
It doesn't matter where I am.
And it's funny because they're just your parents, and they don't think of you that way. My dad doesn't think of me that way.
Right.
I'm his son.
Right.
I'm his son. And the last time, that he was lecturing me, it was because I was, in my teenage years, a BSer, a liar, a conniver, and everything else. It's
right.
It's like, oh, that's right. That's no longer my son anymore. Well, let me see. That was a half century ago. Yeah. But you're always a child to your parents, aren't you?
Yeah.
So it's really, but I look at it, a lot of it, we forget that people don't pay attention. That's my point. With my father, there's the extenuating circumstances of being old.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's just, but there are a lot of people who just don't pay attention. They just don't pay attention. They turn it off. I'll play a cut coming up from Kamala and Maria Shriver yesterday that shows that. Coming up, 866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Managing time is key. Successful owner-operators know that simply running hard is not enough. If it were that easy, anyone could do the job and expect the profits to roll in. It generally pays to slow down. There is a trade-off in higher costs, not to mention the increased risk for driving fast. If driving slower takes time away from you, you could find some of the ways to get it back. Never take time off during the last 2 weeks of the quarter or the last week of the month, when freight typically is abundant. Sometimes it works to your advantage to look for loads that take you through home rather than to home. The latter can interrupt your revenue stream and require additional time to get back up to full speed again. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. What's in the head of a liberal? Here's Maria Shriver with Kamala Harris yesterday. You ready? All right, here we go.
Everybody I talk to says, I have to turn off the news. I can't read anything. I'm meditating. I'm doing yoga. I'm so anxious. I just don't even know. I'm eating gummies, all kinds of things, What are you doing? What are you doing?
Not eating gummies.
What? Okay. Maybe you should. What?
I mean, it's basically, it's like, and this comes from Maria Shriver, what was it? Turn on, turn off, whatever.
Yeah.
Turn off the news, turn on to acid back in the 60s.
Tune out, turn on.
Free love.
And don't eat the brownies. I don't know. Something.
But that's where it is. All my friends that are liberal friends say, stay ignorant that's the message of liberals. Stay ignorant.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Get high, stay ignorant.
Observing and analyzing the insanity. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara. Nightly on Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. I know that I mentioned it before, Cenk Uygur, who was as liberal as you can get a few years ago, part of the Young Turks. And he said this yesterday on X. Some in the press called Trump's McDonald's photo op bizarre. This is how you lose credibility. That was a home run photo op. He looked like a real person there connecting with the average American. If you can't see that, you're totally blind. Wow. It's like, wow. Meanwhile, let's look at, I want to get, where's the Carville audio cut? I got to make sure I find that one here, because that one was really interesting. Here we go. All right. Carville doesn't want to discuss McDonald's. Here you go. What does he want to discuss? Trump doing a Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden.
Okay.
On October 27th. There we go.
I have to be a fan of McDonald's French fries, like most people. Let's talk about something really serious. On October 27th, he's giving a rally at Madison Square Garden to mimic a rally that was held on February 20th, 1939 by the Nazi Party. And he is fully aware of that history. He is fully aware of what is going on. And I really don't care how many French fries he fries.
Okay.
They're just losing it.
Well, and that's really the indicator. The indicator is the level of panic going on. In 2016, at this time, they were practically having a parade. They were certain Hillary was going to win, and they had no worries about Donald Trump. In fact, many of them, except Hillary herself, who was busy canceling a fireworks display, the weekend and couple of days before, and even the day of the election, I remember it. They were, throughout the day, on Election Day, covering it as if it was Inauguration Day already for her. And right now, this is what all of this tells me. Everything, losing their mind over McDonald's, and the reaction to every little thing tells me they're well aware of the internals and what they're showing. They see the shift in the polls that we're seeing, but they also know that the internals don't look good. You couple that with what she was actually saying. She used the word despair. Don't despair. You really sound like somebody who's already lost and is never going to win anything again. The word despair is deep. It's quite the opposite of joy, empowerment, encouragement, energy, leaning forward. All these things that the left has been about. When you think of Uyghur saying, the connection that was made by that, this could go down as the opposite of the Howard Dean moment. The McDonald's thing might. We don't know yet. Only time will tell. Because yesterday I saw a couple of things like, oh, this right here puts him over the top. And I thought, well, I don't know that yet. We got a couple of weeks. Let's wait and see. But it has the potential now, because of the way that the left is reacting to it, it makes it more normal, because it puts it, if you look at the juxtaposition of their losing their ever-loving mind over him doing a photo op at McDonald's versus his demeanor in that moment, because people look at that and go, why are they going so crazy over that? What is going on?
Yeah.
He seems perfectly normal. In fact, he seems more humble than he usually is.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like anything like what they're describing to me. And what is wrong with these people that they'd have a problem with him doing that? This, right there is the potential that it has.
He was taking instructions from the kid as to the young man.
Yeah, right.
As to, I can say kid at my age.
It applies to just about everybody.
I could even add more. I can add more.
Young man.
Interesting rhetoric here. Some pimply-faced dude. Beavis was instructing.
Yeah.
What popped into my mind when Beavis and Butthead worked? I remember the episode.
Yeah.
I really don't. All I remember from the episode is that they worked at a fast food restaurant. It was like, I don't want to eat there. Some pimply-faced kid. No, this young man was instructing Trump when to pull the basket of fries out.
Right.
And then how to do it.
Right.
And then he came over very carefully and dumped it in. And then he had to take those fries with that, the fry tool. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah,
and
the scoop.
The scoop. Yeah, that's it. The scoop. And put him into the bag. And I'm just like, and he wasn't like, don't tell me what to do. No, how do you do this? It's
right.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of how my father would react in that situation. I mentioned my dad earlier, but it really did. My father go, now what do you do? Now, why? Now, except my father would stop and go, now, why 3 minutes and 20 seconds instead of 3 minutes and 30 seconds in the oil?
Right. Right.
And can't we engineer something better, a better scoop to get it in there? That'd be my dad. But no, it was so, nothing was contrived about it. And believe me, if it was contrived and cringeworthy, we'd be the first ones to be screaming, you got 2 damn weeks, don't do something this stupid.
Yeah. Right.
And it wasn't. It
ended up, in fact, the more attention it gets, the bigger the moment is for him. And that's where, again, the left has no sense of self-awareness. I mean, she doesn't. But but you're not going to. You're going to lose it when you truly have buyer's remorse. And that's what they have. Because they really wanted to go around her. They wanted to leapfrog over her. They wanted somebody else in there. September of 23, Anderson Cooper was saying, asking the question to a guest, well, isn't she a drag on the ticket? This is long before they talked about Joe Biden stepping down. She's not the one, and everybody knows it. She knows it. And there isn't anything to fix that. Mr. Garrity. The one thing Jim Garrity doesn't see here is that she's getting there out of people's willful ignorance if you believe the polls, if it is indeed that close. And I do believe there's enough willful ignorance and or hatred, disdain for Trump to put her at that level. It's not because of her. She didn't accomplish that. As Obama would say, you didn't build that. It's exactly as it was in 2020 with Joe Biden. People didn't vote for Joe Biden. They voted against Donald Trump. And the question is there going to be a disparity between the polls? Let's say they are somewhere in the ballpark and fairly accurate, and then the actual turnout. Because I think that's the difference. The disdain, the hatred, the toxicity on Trump has diminished greatly. And it goes back to that, what I've been saying. I think it's quite possible that we see that it's not like 2020 where it was enough to drive them out to vote for Joe Biden. Look, they may not like Trump, but their diminished hatred or disdain for Trump is at the point now that they're not driven to vote for her, which is against him. That's the play. That's the question. And I think they're seeing that. We're seeing that. I believe their internals are showing that. They're worried about the down ballot. They're worried about the energy right now. And their ground game is nothing. Their ground game is nothing because you have to have energy for the actual candidate at the top of the ticket. You've got to have that to move that. That's your fuel for your ground game. You can have every strategy on the planet applied, every perfect strategy on the planet applied to your ground game without the energy, without the fuel. It goes nowhere. And that's, I think, quite possibly what they're looking at. We'll see 2 weeks from today.
You know, it's just reading earlier Piers Morgan's op-ed piece. Trump's genius McDonald stunt will fry Kamala at the ballot box. Well, I don't know whether that's true or not, but he said, even if you're flipping fries at McDonald's, Oprah Winfrey once said, if you're excellent, everybody wants to be in your line. I thought of that quote when Trump turned up yesterday at McDonald's in a suburban Philadelphia neighborhood to work a shift making French fries, first handling bags of food to drive through customers. As political stunts go, this might have been the best I've ever seen because it served two very powerful purposes in the presidential race. And the first one was trolling Kamala. And he makes the point. He said, look, they have, and I think he used the word antidote, that Kamala is supposed to be the antidote to the lying Trump. And it's like, this is one, obviously, where she can't prove that she worked at McDonald's, and so she won't try to prove it, and so you rub it in. But the second point he said, look, a third of the McDonald's in the world, a third of them are in the United States. And he goes through all the celebrities that worked at McDonald's. He goes, you got to realize so many young people worked at McDonald's. Mm-hmm. People can relate to that. They can relate to fast food in general because for so many people, you think about that. If you took, for example, the percentage of, take all fast food restaurants in America, what percentage of young people worked at a fast food restaurant? I did. I got the Dunkin' Donuts. It wasn't, the same, as fast food, but it's considered fast food. You go when you get your coffee, you get your donuts, are made, and boom, you head out. Everything is very quick.
The closest I came was a grocery store.
Yeah. But we all held those kind of jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And it said the way Trump maneuvered and talked to people, it goes absolutely genuine. Absolutely. And those that are being on the left, being intellectually honest, will tell you it was a great, great moment. And look, we've seen every political stunt, the cringeworthy ones, whatever. And we said, oh, gosh, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Don't do that. whatever, that one worked. And it worked. It worked fantastic for him.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, it was interesting because for us, as I said yesterday, it was really a nothing burger. What I think really, and I think this is what the Democrats don't understand, is when they attack Trump for this, and also they attacked the McDonald's.
Yeah.
When you do it, you just highlight it where people say, well, what did he do? Let me see. Well, there's the video. Let me go watch the video of Trump there. And you look at it and you say, what's to criticize?
Right. Right.
Nothing. Well, why are they criticizing this? This is great.
It's either very boring and nothing really impactful to you, or you look at it and say, wow, he's not the bombastic guy. He seems a little more humble in this case. He's listening to directions. He's interacting with someone at the drive-thru. Interesting. I've never seen that side of him. I mean, it's one or the other.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up on the top of the hour, it's starting. Here's the headline. It's the most popular article on thehill.com right now. What if Joe Biden was the better candidate all along? We'll get to that one.
Yeah, it's the buyer's remorse we've been talking about. But also, it was, around 3 weeks ago. I said, there's a number of Democrats right now going, you think he'd come back? You think if we just asked nicely, he'd come back in? You think? Wow.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA, we are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Wow, 2 weeks from today.
Yep. 2 weeks from today, Arizona will start counting the votes. And 6 months from today, they'll be halfway through. Unbelievable.
Well, look, we all know there's no reason that in today's society we should not be able to count votes by Election Day. Any attempt by any state not to have it done by, election night.
Right.
Is because they wish to promote fraud. There is no other reason.
Yeah,
there's no other reason.
And, the two that stick out are Arizona and Pennsylvania, but doing the count here, it's quite possible that he reaches 270 without those two states being done with their counting. So, look, it's up to the people of those states to straighten out that system and get their local officials in line with what they want.
There is no excuse.
Nope.
There is no excuse. You go, well, we need to wait. You don't need to wait. You just move everything up a few weeks.
Yep.
Everything has to be in by this date, and we count everything before Election Day.
Yep.
End of story.
Yep.
All the other states do it.
Yep.
If you don't wish to do it, it's because you wish to do everything you can to get the courts involved in it.
Yep.
And to commit possible fraud. There is no other reason. End of story.
Mm-hmm.
There is no debate on this. There isn't, you need to wait. No, just move everything a few weeks before.
Yep. Yeah.
Whatever your deadline is, move it a few weeks before.
Yep.
And then you count everything by Election Day, the mail-in vote, absentee votes, everything's counted by Election Day.
Right.
That's it.
Yep. Yeah. We'll see what happens on election night. I fully expect that Arizona will live up to that. I mean, they've already said it. Pennsylvania indicating the same, and we'll see. But if you're looking at if Trump wins Michigan and Wisconsin and Nevada, he gets to 270 without those two states finishing their counting. And again, it's up to the people of those states to get their officials in line with what they expect on counting the votes. It's insane. That's insane. You know, it was the Governor DeSantis in Florida who said, we don't have a problem. We don't have a problem. We don't know why other states would have a problem counting their votes.
Because they wish to have a problem.
Yep.
That's the only reason.
They're creating this. The fact that they put that out so far ahead of the election and said, we're not going to have the results that night, tells you it's planned. They want it that way.
Yep.
It's deliberate.
Yep.
They care nothing about your votes if you live in those states.
Nope, they don't. Otherwise, they change it.
Right.
This isn't rocket science.
Nope.
It's that easy. We started early voting yesterday.
Yeah. Yep.
There's more. I know in my county, there's more places to go vote this time than there was in 2020. I had to wait an hour and a half for early voting in 2020.
You did?
Yep.
I was in and out in 2020.
Yep.
It's always, I've lived in the same neighborhood for 30 years, so it's always been on early voting. It's always been the same place that I go to. And now when the state opened it up wide a few years ago, it made it so much easier for people to, okay, if you work across town, that's fine. You can still go here and here and here. But for me, it's just been routine because I know where to go. It's not far from the house.
Yeah, well, mine was about 6 miles away.
Yeah.
A community college near me. And that was, and I remembered it because it came up on Facebook yesterday in my memories.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see the line, how long the line was.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, look at this line.
Now I'm getting there. Yeah. I'm getting there at 7:05. I'm getting there right when they open. Mine's a library, and I go in, and I think maybe over the years I've waited in some short lines. I probably the longest I've ever waited was it the primary of 2016? Maybe. Or 2020, yeah. The primary of 2020, even though he was the incumbent. I think it was probably 20 minutes is the longest.
Yeah, that was the longest I ever waited to vote in any election in my life, going all the way back to 1973.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for it.
No.
And now, though, they've opened up, there's 2 other places I can go that are closer than that.
Mm-hmm.
So they've opened up an additional 2 for this election that were not open for 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, the rest of the time, other elections over the last few years, it's been nothing. Now, in 2020, this is really interesting because you just want to get it out of the way. It's like, okay, let me vote now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I'll probably do it this week. But when in 2020, I checked it out, because I went, wow, early voting was so incredibly it was a madhouse. There were so many people in line. I mean, everybody was well behaved. It's just waiting 90 minutes. In my mind is a madhouse. I don't have 90 minutes during a weekday that I can spare. But when Election Day came on that Tuesday, where you vote is the elementary school 1,000 feet from my house. I can walk there in 2 minutes. I parked outside to see how I sat outside the voting place where you walked in. Nobody walked in or out for a half hour. There's nobody there on election day voting. No one. Everybody in the precinct I'm in voted early, it looked like. And I thought that was really interesting. It was like, I should have waited and just gone in. And I did it for the show. I remember doing it. I said, I'm going to sit out here for a half hour to see, how many people come in and out. Nobody did.
Yeah,
and it was about 11 o'clock. I was there, 11:30.
Yeah, for me, I want to get it out of the way in first thing in the morning, as soon as they open. So I'm getting there as they open, and there are people there, but it moves so fast. I mean, it's so well organized and moves so fast. The one time I had to wait, I do remember, there was a machine down, and someone, there were two people there, husband and wife, or I don't know, could have been sister and brother, I don't know. But they were together, and one of them was waiting because their machine was down, and they had to call someone, and, kind of became a thing, so we kind of had to wait until they got that remedied and then got us organized to go around that. But it's always been well organized. There's a ton of volunteers in my neighborhood. And I think because I go so early in the morning and get it out of the way. I'm trying to think. Probably going back to 2008 was the last time I didn't go in the morning. And I was waiting, and I know my son was with me. He was voting. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's I wasn't a fan of early voting to begin with, and now that I'm older and I can get it done, get it out of the way. I was talking to my nephew over the weekend, a great phone call, and we were talking about things. He was talking about the Kamala Harris interview with Brett Baer, and he was just laughing at her. But the mindset now, and I'm curious to see what the turnout will be for early voting, because I do believe people do want a wider opportunity to vote. I know, like in the local elections, sometimes if you wait, like the May elections, if I wait and then it's, okay, well, the actual election day is Saturday and I didn't go early vote, something inevitably is going to try and get in the way on that Saturday. And it's I've got to make sure that there's nothing that could get in my way on that day. And that's really why I'm a big fan of early voting, is so I can actually get it done and get it out of the way so that nothing gets in my way on election day.
Do they have the election trailers anymore? Because when I was growing up, and when I started voting, you never went to a school. You never voted at a school. You never voted.
Right. Yeah.
There's actually a municipal court where I can vote.
Right.
There's actually a mall where I can vote.
Right.
They had these trailers that they only brought out on voting day.
Somebody mentioned to me, I think my dad mentioned they had one.
Like these blue and white trailers that they would, and they'd set them down in all different areas. And one was about 5 blocks.
The portable building thing.
The portable building, yeah. They were basically big mobile homes.
My dad was talking about, and my dad said some retail locations, actually. It's like, wow, that's weird. That's kind of strange. But they're setting up these portable things, I think, at those retail locations, like in the parking lot or, maybe off to the side on the same property.
Oh, no.
In his town.
There's a mall near me, a specialty mall. You go inside and they have a space that's leased where you go in and vote right next to a jewelry store.
My dad told me the same thing. He said they had the town's mall that's been there forever, used to be the place. And he said no more because nobody goes to the mall anymore. He said they quit that. They moved that location because it wasn't convenient for people. Nobody wanted to go into a mall for any reason.
Well, I'm expecting my Amazon driver, to actually knock on the door and bring the ballot and go, here's the ballot. Could you fill it out?
Right.
And I'll wait here for me, and then give it back to him, and then he takes it.
Or you pull in through McDonald's, Trump's at the drive-thru, and then, he hands you the ballot, and so I can freak out some more Democrats. I heard on the radio that he was handing ballots out.
Yeah, he hands out ballots, and then you get to when you drive out into the parking lot, Elon Musk comes out and gives you $1 million.
Exactly.
That's I like that.
But only after you voted.
Right.
For Trump.
Yeah, right. You pick up the ballot, you drop it in the box, and then you go into the parking lot and you see if your number's been picked.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Well, I got to make sure I vote early voting because Jill Stein needs my vote.
Yeah, that's right.
Somebody's going to hear that and I'm going to respond, "What, you're voting for Jill Stein?" Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, right.
I've turned into Mark Cuban.
Yeah.
I've turned into bizarro Mark Cuban.
Yeah.
No, I'm not voting for Jill Stein.
No.
And remember, if you're voting in the state of Texas and you've come from California, understand you must have ID here.
Yes. And remember, Election Day is November 6th.
Yes. Always remember that. Those guys are promoting disinformation. They said that Election Day is November 6th.
We know it's November 7th. Calm down. We were just joking.
Don't worry, it won't be over. Over? Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? I had to throw that one in. Everybody who's been listening for any length of time knows what that means.
In Texas, you can vote on Facebook. Just click the like button. Yeah.
Go to X.
Yeah.
Where Kamala is talking to Liz Chaney.
Right. That's how you'll know you're in the right place.
Like that, and your vote has been calculated.
Right. Exactly. And Arizona counts all those votes early.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up, it was the most popular article on thehill.com, not exactly a conservative publication, but the top article is, well, maybe we should have stayed with Biden. We'll have that coming up here in just a little bit. Plus, also coming up a little bit later on, nearly 80%, latest survey on what Americans are thinking about the economy, 80% of U.S. adults say they are worried about the economy.
Yeah.
When they say the economy, they mean their economy, because that's what they talk about.
Right.
And you and I said this for the longest time.
Yeah.
The numbers don't matter.
No.
I saw there were some not so hot numbers out yesterday about, I think it's manufacturing and stuff.
Right.
That came out. We'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit. But we said this a long time ago when the Democrats were out there saying, the economy's great. Why can't you see it? Inflation. Because people don't care. People don't care about the macro economy.
Well,
they care about their economy, which is their finances.
Right. And there is no way to spin that. There's no way to spin that at all.
In fact, when you insist that people aren't paying attention and they should be able to see the great job you're doing and they don't feel it, you're actually insulting them.
Exactly.
Because they feel it because they're experiencing it. So we'll get to that coming up. Sometimes Lindsay Graham can drive us nuts, and sometimes, like on Meet the Press, on Sunday you say, all right, Lindsay, here's this audio.
To every Republican supporting her, What the hell are you doing? You're supporting the most radical nominee in the history of American politics. The Green New Deal, Medicare for all. She was the last person in the room before Biden decided to withdraw from Afghanistan. She was the border czar. She cast the tie-breaking vote for the Inflation Reduction Act that gives you high prices. What are you doing? You're trying to convince me that Donald Trump's rhetoric is the danger to this country. The danger to this country is the policies of Biden and Harris. Her fingerprints are all over this disaster, and I can't take 4 more years of this crap.
All right.
When you support her, you're supporting 4 more years of garbage policy.
There you have it. Yeah.
Kristen Welker keeps wanting to interrupt, but Senator, he does make the point. When you look at it, Biden ran as a moderate.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do anything radical. I'm going to just be, and he wasn't.
And that helped him, in the polls. Remember, going back in the polls, people were buying into the idea that he was a moderate.
Right. But Graham makes a totally accurate point. Kamala Harris, from what she has actually promoted, voted on, and said multiple times, is the most radical presidential nominee in American history.
Yeah. Yeah, she is.
And it's not used a lot by Republicans because, even independents, that's just rhetoric, But if you break it down, the border, what they want to do in the border, the most radical policy in American history. What they want to do with inflation by spending and borrowing, most radical in American history.
Yep.
Defund the police, crime, no bail, most radical in American history. And the identity politics and the radical transgender movement, the most radical stuff in American history.
Yep.
Show that never stops. Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. Hey, he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Yeah. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. That's right. Wherever you are, you can listen.
That's right. And thank you.
So, here we go.
All right.
We knew this was coming. What if Joe Biden was the better candidate all along? The most popular story on thehill.com.
Uh-huh. Told you.
Harlan Ollman, opinion contributor.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready? Got to read a couple of paragraphs here.
I'm ready.
With the November 5th election just over a fortnight away, here is an intriguing thought experiment. By most accounts, the election is still a horse race too close to call. But although Vice President Kamala Harris quickly assumed the presidential mantle from Joe Biden and put in place an impressive startup, no, she didn't.
No, she
didn't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to comment. Understand, this is not my opinion. This is the opinion here.
Right.
We just have to read it from the point of a liberal. Okay, so I'm not going to comment on it because we would stop after every sentence. But Kamala Harris quickly assumed the presidential mantle from Joe Biden and put in place an impressive startup. October, though, has not been particularly kind to her.
No.
Donald Trump has closed the electoral gap, and some believe that he is actually leading. Who are the some? Well, the most accurate pollsters of 2020.
Right.
No matter
some believe.
No matter who wins, we have to ask ourselves, would President Biden have been a better candidate and choice despite suffering from the effects of age and 81 years? Furthermore, suppose that the disastrous June 27th debate with Trump had not taken place. Now we need to go into a hypotheticals.
Yes. Full delusional statement. Just imagine. Just hear me out. Yeah, okay.
Further, suppose the disastrous June 27th debate with Trump had not taken place, or that Biden had been firing on all cylinders that night.
Imagine Biden had been born 30 years later, and he was only 51. Imagine that.
With all those things I just mentioned, would Biden, he writes, would Biden have been forced to withdraw? And whether Harris loses or wins, some will ask whether Biden might still have been the better candidate. Bob Woodward's new book, good, let's go to an unbiased book.
Exactly. Yeah.
Might not be dispositive in representing Biden's strengths and weaknesses. The book does add weight to this thought experiment, though. Woodward paints a very positive picture of Biden's ability to lead and govern despite making mistakes, most notably the disastrous withdrawal from Kabul. Remember, it wasn't a mistake. He lied to the American people about what the generals told him.
Yep.
Woodward also reports on Biden's obvious decline, that it was physical and not mental. No. This was caused in part by prior medical conditions accelerating the effects of age on a body. There were also the strains of high office. Are you ready for this now?
Yeah, okay.
There were also the strains of high office. Mm-hmm. The president refused to limit his overworked schedule despite valid criticisms that he was on a near-permanent holiday in Delaware or Camp David. That sentence doesn't make any sense.
Well, the criticism, it was a reality.
Wow. Kamala Harris' role, as Woodward describes events, was not as significant as Biden's national security team, who were his band of brothers and sisters. Also, Woodward did not focus anything on domestic politics.
Oh, there's that.
This is so poorly written.
It's so horrible.
Today's politics remains visual, whether on television or social media, with a constant flow of posts that millions of subscribers download every day. In fairness, Trump is an entertainer, showman, and salesman. He may be overweight and wear excessively long ties while obsessing about his hair, but he gets away with it. And Trump, like the Energizer Bunny, seems to have unlimited endurance. The physical comparison between the two presidents could not be more striking. That must favor Trump, and in a small way accounts for some of his widespread public support. He is also interesting, love him or hate him. Trump is far from boring. The size of his audiences at rallies confirms that. Harris is a generation removed from both presidents. As president, God, this is just, this. I was telling my dad yesterday. I was telling him when I was talking to my dad. He was talking about the show, and I said, "Dad, you can't imagine how fun it is because these people are nuts." But here it is. Harris is a generation removed from both presidents. As President Vladimir Putin slyly observes, she has a contagious laugh and a very buoyant and positive attitude. That is a refreshing and a counterpoint to Trump's bleak and dystopian view of the world. You apparently didn't see the Liz Chaney downer.
Yeah.
Whatever that was yesterday.
The Debbie Downer convention.
Yep. If Biden were still the candidate, he would have to overcome these physical and visual disparities with Trump. To do that, Biden would have to mount an aggressive campaign to portray Trump, here we go again, as a convicted felon unfit for public office.
All right.
For some reason, the Harris campaign has downplayed this conviction and his 3 other pending cases, as well as Trump's major character flaws. They did that for a reason.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. God, this guy is just in a bizarre. They're all in bizarro worlds of their own. And you notice what he doesn't mention here at all? Nowhere in the article does he mention the actual issues.
You think he's working from home and Howard Stern hasn't left his house since COVID? Because he seems to be just completely removed.
The public may have decided, as senior Democrats have, that Biden is too old to serve. Had he been reelected, Biden would have been 86 at the end of his second term. Given his age, it is not impossible that Biden could suffer a major health event. Trump is only 3 years younger than Biden. He is certainly not immune, to health problems, as his vice presidential nominee, Senator J.D. Vance, understands. But Biden is not running. Thank you for getting back to reality.
Okay.
And with the death of the Hamas leader, Biden now has an opportunity to help conclude a peace agreement in the Middle East. That would be Biden's legacy. One hopes he will pursue the opportunity. As I have previously written, Americans may not know the winner right away, given the likelihood of contested districts and recounts. Yet when the 47th president is decided, at some stage, people may wonder whether the best choice was not Harris or Trump. In retrospect, perhaps America would have been better served if the 46th president, Joe Biden, won a second term. Harlan Ollman, Ph.D., senior advisor at the Atlantic Council.
Interesting, by the way.
Whoever the hell they are.
Yeah. Interesting, by the way, that more liberals are coming up with this. Well, the results of the election may not be known right away. It wasn't that long ago when they were saying, Trump is a threat to democracy because he's not going to acknowledge. Are you going to concede? And more liberals are looking at it going, well, they may not know the election results right away. All of it points to the lack of confidence. And, of course, the basis of this piece here, buyer's remorse. I've been saying it since the beginning. It wasn't long into it where I thought, oh, they're going to regret this. I thought, in fact, many already did. Let's put on the smiley face. Yay, yay. They had to bring, the Obamas back from their, place in France that they share with George Clooney to do their endorsement of her. That took days. I think they traveled by sailboat. I'm not sure how they got back to the States. But here's the thing. It was always going to be buyer's remorse because she was never the one they were calling on him to pick as a peep. See, this is what you don't think through. Everything's going to be fine. It's fine. He's going to be 81. It's fine. It's no problem. She's the drag on the ticket. Isn't she the drag on the ticket? That was Anderson Cooper in September of 2023. Isn't she a drag on the ticket? It wasn't about Biden stepping down. He was the guy. And then he wasn't. And then the problem is the delusional, just as you heard in the very stylish writings here, this delusional mindset that they live in, they're completely removed. They really are. It's like they're working from home, but they don't actually communicate with anybody outside the home ever.
Yeah.
And they don't even have any idea what's going on, because all along the way they were hoping. They were pretending she didn't even exist. It was like they had already written it off that he steps down, she's going to step down too. She's not going to run. Nancy comes in, she's going to step up, and she makes the call, and tells Biden he's done. I'm convinced Biden decided to throw one out. I'm convinced for revenge, because it's right out of the Joe Biden playbook. It's just his defiant nature. And I'm convinced that he wrote in that announcement that he's endorsing her, and the party wasn't expecting that. They were going to come up with some kind of primary, mini primary, open primary kind of thing. And he would say kind words about her, but he would agree to say that I will let the party decide. While I support Kamala Harris, and I think she's well qualified, we will let the people decide who the nominee will be, blah, 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 blah. None of that. It didn't happen the way it was supposed to because they live in a delusional state. It was always going to end up this way.
And looking at this article that we've been discussing here by Harlan Ollman, the most popular article on thehill.com, basically saying, well, maybe we should have considered Biden. Nowhere does it talk about the issues. Nope. He basically gets down to the fact that his argument is Trump is a showman and a salesman with a lot of energy, and somehow the public hasn't seen what Vladimir Putin has seen with Kamala Harris's great laugh and buoyant personality. So since I haven't seen it, maybe Biden might be the better one. This is something that a seventh grader would write. No, if a seventh grader wrote it, I'd be embarrassed for them.
A seventh grader would be worried about the grade they would get on it.
This is childish writing. I mean, that's when you said that. It's like this guy's been sitting in his home, has no idea, hasn't turned on a television, talks to a few liberals every day, and writes this article.
No, it's exactly what it sounds like.
The reason that Trump right now is favored to win the election, we'll see whether he does, is because where he stands on the issues.
Yep. Yeah.
That's what's driving people. They look and go, well, where you stood on the issues didn't work for us.
Right.
When he was in office, it worked for us.
Right.
And they don't see it. They live in their own delusional world, and they can't get out of it.
They just can't get out of it.
866-90-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. But if you wonder, we go back to the question that was asked before that we talked about Jim Garrity on National Review. How come Kamala even is at 50-50? It's right there again, where you see it right there with that guy says, well, maybe we should have picked Joe Biden. Nothing is about the issues. Nothing.
No.
Nothing. They don't understand why Trump. Well, Trump is a showman, and that's why he's winning. And he's a showman, and he's a salesman. And well, what's he selling?
What's he
selling versus what are you selling? They don't ever get into the actual issues, and that's the situation. And we said that we hope that this election is finally going to be the election where people stand on the issues is where the results of the election end up.
Right.
Because it's still landslide numbers where Donald Trump stands on the issues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We'll see what the election turns out to be, but on the issues itself, and they never approach that. They never discuss that in Democrat circles. They never say, well, where do we stand on the issues? Does she have to be clear? And if she's going to be clear, where does she have to be clearer? Because they know that if she tells the truth, or if they tell the American public the truth of where they actually stand, then they will lose.
Right.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here. So you saw that, just quickly, we can't forget about the other stuff out there. Former Georgia special prosecutor, this is from National Review, Nathan Wade, who previously led the Fulton County election fraud case against Donald Trump, lacked the critical experience for the job and had to take training sessions on the RICO laws, he told a House committee last week. Fonnie Willis, we're going to file RICO charges against him. Who? You got to go to class. Wade testified before the House Judiciary Committee behind closed doors and admitted to lacking the expertise necessary to be a special prosecutor to the point where he attended a course on the RICO laws to learn how the law worked. You can't make this crap up. You can't make this up. Prior to your appointment as special prosecutor, had you ever worked in a district attorney's office? Wade was asked. Did you hear this again? Now, here's this question. Forget about whether you had RICO law experience. Prior to your appointment as special prosecutor, had you ever worked in a district attorney's office? Wade was asked, according to transcript of the testimony. No, Wade replied. He was later asked whether he had ever prosecuted a RICO case prior to taking on the wide-ranging case against Trump and his associates. No, Wade said. To get up to speed, Wade said he went to RICO school. I went to Ricola school. Ricola.
Hey, you here for the RICO class? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll see you at lunch.
He went to a RICO school with racketeering expert John Floyd, a prominent attorney who assisted the Fulton County District Attorney's Office with the Trump prosecution. I went to what I would call RICO school to learn about what it is, what it means, and how it works.
Hey, everybody, welcome to RICO class, or as I call it, they ain't got no proof. Wow. RICO class. I had to go to, I have to go to RICO class to learn, the whole RICO thing.
Now we also found out, the tie-in, this should have been bigger news yesterday, but the mainstream media is not going to cover this.
Yeah.
As special prosecutor, Wade confirmed that he met with Biden administration officials on multiple occasions, but he hesitated to disclose details during the closed-door testimony. He also met with lawyers affiliated with the January 6th committee and declined to talk about the details of those meetings.
Huh.
There you go.
Yeah. RICO class.
God help us.
Wow.
All right. Well, we had to throw that one out there, didn't we?
Imagine, applying for a bartender's job, and then you just say to during the interview, so what you're telling me is people come here to drink alcohol, and my job is going to be to serve them alcohol? Is that what you're getting at?
I don't think there was ever a talk radio school, was there?
No. Well, we have some inspiration along the way, mainly liberals.
Well, I was thinking, could you imagine a talk radio class today at a major college?
Oh yeah, no. Riley Gaines has an easier time than we would at a college teaching a class like that.
No, not teaching, taking a class.
Yeah,
from the woke professors. Talk radio. Well, you've got to be.
They're teaching talk radio,
right? They're teaching talk radio, not
Who's
us.
Gonna,
right?
Oh, so Professor Al Franken would be there. When I was in talk radio.
Those who fail teach.
Exactly. Those who can do, those who can't run for Senate. The problem that we would have is, again, campus security. We would need that. There's not enough in the world.
That's right. You know what I think of? I always, this had to be, it was after 94, because it was after Pataki beat Cuomo, Mario Cuomo.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you remember it, but I mean, that was, Rush started making a lot of noise, in probably, I'm going to guess 93, 92, 93, 94, 95 is when Rush Limbaugh just went through the roof.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, there was it probably was 95 or 96 where it was and the left went crazy. Here we go. The challenge to Rush Limbaugh. Mario Cuomo is going to do a talk radio show 1 day a week.
Yeah.
On a set. He will blunt Rush Limbaugh.
Uh-huh.
And it was like a weekend show. And I'll never forget listening to part of the first show, and I'm dying laughing because he really didn't want to take any strong. You could tell he had no talk radio experience. And what they were counting on is the fact that he's a great orator. He's a great speaker. He can get out there and he can, talk radio. It's not speech making.
It's great if you want to monologue for a few minutes, but then you got to get on with the whole talk radio thing.
Right. And so, but the best thing is he's like, I'm going to play, we're going to do things differently here. And he was playing classical music as the bumper's coming in. The bumper music when you're coming in from a commercial break. All this, eclectic classical music. And I'm shaking my head going, they don't have a clue.
Yeah.
But it was the buildup to it by the Democrats. This is going to put Rush in his place. Rush will be gone. Rush won't be able to handle this. And it was everybody in the business who was intellectually honest after hearing the first show said, this thing's going to die really quick.
Yeah.
And it did. I mean, it was horrible. And you're laughing at it, not because I always, if you go in front of a microphone and you bomb, it's like if you're a comedian and watch another comedian bomb, even if you don't agree with the comedian, you feel sorry for them. That's a tough thing to go through. And I remember thinking that it was like, oh man, this isn't going to work. But this thing just isn't going to do it. And it was sort of the same thing of when you and I saw the documentary of Air America. And when they actually did, in order to start up Air America, they were all doing practice shows.
Yeah, rehearsals.
Yeah, they were doing rehearsals like, okay, now wait, now that wouldn't be good. What we need to do is, hold on, take 2. Take 3.
No.
Take 4. No. This is talk radio.
No, you're live.
There's only take 1.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious watching that. And we went, no wonder it was so bad. I mean, they're doing it as if it's a program that's written.
Yeah.
And
right.
it was just horrible. But we said, oh, okay, no wonder they sucked. They had no clue, how you get into talk radio. It's like you don't become a stand-up comedian by saying, take somebody off the street. All right, let's put them in a room and you talk to me and do your stand-up comedy act for a couple of weeks, and then we put you out on a national tour.
You got to go up to open mic, and you got to do it all the time. You got to do every open mic you can.
You got to die.
And you're going to die 1,000 deaths before you ever get a spot. Somebody said it recently. It was either Nate Bargatze, Seinfeld, somebody. If you've been doing it 20 years, that means you're doing it well, because there's no way you're going to be around for 20 years.
Did you see Seinfeld wimped out?
He backed away from his comments on liberals.
Yeah.
And the woke thing on the Tom Papa podcast.
Yeah. Somebody wrote me on it. I actually watched it last week and went, oh, come on.
Yeah.
He was trying to snake around it, but what he was trying to say is the left isn't, you need to go in and you basically need to adapt to where the culture is in order to shut up.
No.
Good God. I mean,
you don't.
You can't say what you've said for the last 10 years and then backtrack on it.
Now, there was a moment. Steve Harvey was on one of the episodes of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, and something came up. I forget what it was.
I saw that, yeah.
And Steve Harvey said, "Well, whoa. I got a job. I can't just, whatever my way through this." And, he has to be careful because at the time, I think he may still be hosting Family Feud.
Family Feud, right.
He's got a job.
Right.
So he's got other people that work for him and with him, and he's got, all these considerations and a contract and everything else that has to fit within that.
And you can't be controversial
and
politically if you're doing a game show.
There are things that you can and can't do. And so that's different, though, than what Seinfeld was originally saying about the woke. And he said it, it wasn't the first time he said it. Years ago, in fact, we were at the old building when he talked about not being able to do college campuses anymore because of the activists and protesters. And he was right the first time. He was right with the woke crowd wanting to shut down comedy. And if you're adapting as a comedian, here's what I would say. The sensibilities change, but for comedy, it's about the whole, take my wife, please. Well, those jokes don't work. There are certain things you can do and can't do. Someone came out if a young Don Rickles, hit the scene, it wouldn't fly. It's not going to fly because people wouldn't understand who he was at the basis of that. All the elements had to be in play for him to get away with that. In fact, I saw an appearance recently, came up on YouTube, and it was a later appearance when he was on, and he made a joke like he's always made, and the audience went, ooh, and he kind of rolled his eyes. There are sensibilities that change with comedy of what's funny, what isn't. But the woke crowd isn't about changing sensibilities. It's about, we're going to shut you down. We're going to protest you out of existence. And with comedy, it's either, okay, the crowd shows up and you're either funny or you're not. And there are sensibility items that do change. Look, the Seinfeld episodes that we've talked about, that some of those would never get past the network censors, but they're still funny and they're being shown for a reason. I mean, if they were written today, the network would never allow them on prime time. But in syndication, those bits still work because they were funny.
Yeah, but stand-up is your gig.
Yeah.
And the fact is, him bringing that up, as he's still out there being harassed by pro-terrorist people.
Yeah.
And he's still continuing to blast them.
Right.
Well, apparently you don't understand those sensibilities of the left that are pro-terrorist, Jerry. It didn't make sense what he said. I don't know if
I don't know, and he seemed to be really doing a full-on mea culpa on that, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Because it's not necessary. He was right the first time. You have to adapt to what is funny. What's funny does change. But it's not going to change as a result of the woke coming in and saying, we'll shut you down because you said something mean or you said something this. Look, if an audience thinks something that you go overboard, then you'll know about it from day one. You'll know about it from moment one on that stage because there won't be laughter.
Politicians promoting the fact that a man can be a woman because a man says so is insane, but it's also hilarious at the same time that anybody would attempt to convince you of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if that would be, I'd bring that up to Seinfeld. You know it and I know it.
Mm-hmm.
You both know it. You're saying you're not going to do the joke because somebody might be offended by it, even though the thought process is insane. Is it the number of people that believe in an insane idea? Is your judgment of whether you go for it or not?
Different comedians have different standards. Leno talked about it. But I think Leno was tempered by working on the network for so long, a monologue every night that was tempered by those censors at the network. You know, some comedians insist on being clean. That's great,
that's
too.
fine, yeah.
You just have to find the funny.
Right. My point was him.
And worrying about what people are going to be offended by, the audience will let you know right away that's part of comedy, and he knows that.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. Once a roadside inspection is completed, the officer will close it out, which involves the officer writing or typing up the report. The more the officer found during the inspection, the longer this will take. If violations were discovered, most officers, as a courtesy, will explain the violations to the driver. If there were any out-of-service violations, the officer will normally explain what must be done to get the out-of-service order lifted. Drivers need to be very attentive during this part of the inspection. The driver also needs to read and understand the complete inspection report. After receiving the inspection report, the driver has 24 hours to get the roadside inspection report to the motor carrier. If the driver will not be returning to a company facility within the next 24 hours, the driver needs to know to get it on the way to you via email, mail, or fax within 24 hours. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up, what are Americans thinking right now in the latest polling? This is on the economy. And 80% of U.S. adults say they're worried about the economy. Let me see. 78% are worried about their personal finances. The millennials, ages 27 to 42, are the most concerned at 83%. And so we'll look at that because, again, we read earlier the one article, which was the number one article right now, viewed article on thehill.com, which is maybe Joe Biden should have run. Maybe we shouldn't have kicked Joe Biden out. And they don't talk about the issues at all. The only thing is, Trump is a salesman, and people just can't see the joy in Kamala. It's like issues, stupid. So we will get to that, and then some more really, really interesting audio coming up. And what else?
No, what else? What else you got over there? What is it? What?
Oh, yeah. The leading economic index declines, driven by manufacturing and housing weakness. So we have some economic numbers that are in the U.S. leading economic index fell 0.5% in September. So we'll have the latest on that coming up.
America Studios.
I'm sorry, I'm just enjoying the music here. They got some guitars in there. He's right. Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome, good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you decide. All right, so this comes from the new polling out from New Ramsey Solution. This is Dave Ramsey, as we all know, the financial guy. See the other day, I'm voting for Trump. You can't cancel me. I was laughing. It's like, dude, I mean, I know you're an economic, and by the way, I met him really early on.
Mm-hmm.
When this goes back to 96, I think.
Right.
When I was actually offered the job at our great affiliate, WWTN, in Nashville.
Right.
And I ended up not taking the job. But I met him when he was there early on in his career.
Right.
Real nice guy.
Yeah.
But I just chuckled yesterday when was yesterday or the day before where he said, "I'm voting for Trump." Basically, I don't care what you think. You can't cancel me. I own my show. It's like, wow. You can't cancel me.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with the advice I've heard, I mean, he is definitely he is without question a conservative in financial matters.
Yeah, I mean, I just assumed I didn't when that story came out. I was like, oh, was there somebody questioning whether or not he would vote for Trump? Because I just assumed he would vote Republican. I don't know.
You know, exactly. I mean, that's I assumed it too with the fiscal conservative ideas that he throws out.
Yeah,
and it's funny because again talking to my dad yesterday, and for some reason I'm doing a bunch of stuff. I'm bringing a bunch of my house is 18 years old. There's stuff that's got to be done.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like 17, 18 years old is that magic number when you buy a new house. All right, everything's going to hell.
Yeah.
And so I'm telling my father, and every day I tell my father, he said, "Now don't you get into debt. Don't you get into debt. You know what I always taught you." And my father, that was a huge thing.
Because it's expensive to, do all the updates and everything.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's, but it's got to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Don't get into debt. Don't get into debt. Don't get in." I said, "Dad, I was a bill collector." "Oh, that's right. You were a bill collector."
Right.
It's like, but my father is the one that initially pounded it into me, don't get into debt.
Right.
And then it was being a bill collector and seeing the problems that it caused as a bill collector for, was it 3 years, I think?
Right.
Bill collector. Mm-hmm. And by the way, that I believe I would still, just so you know, you would be able to find evidence that I was a bill collector. And there are people that are still alive, even though I started at the bank in May of 74. Oh, my God, that's a half century ago. I thought half centuries were supposed to be a long time, Eric. I thought it was supposed to be like,
Nah.
Because I always, 1974, I thought, man, 1924, it's a hell of a long ways away. And also in 1974, we're here in 2024, and I'm like, it seems like about 5 minutes went by.
My house is 56 years old.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, but
it's always looking at the younger house next door. I don't even know what that means.
That's okay.
It's actually not a younger house. It's
that's okay.
Same age.
And you notice I laughed because I'm so used to it with Democrats right now in this election. It doesn't have to make sense in order to laugh. That's one thing that Democrats have given me this election cycle. I have no idea what the hell they said. Man, that was funny. So you go ahead, and any joke that you haven't connected the dots in, you can still tell me.
My house is so old. My house screams, "Hey, you kids, get out of my yard."
Get off my lawn.
My house is napping right now.
But here we go. So 2 weeks before we head to the polls, 78% of adults say they're worried about the economy. According to Ramsey's Solution New State of Personal Finance report for the third quarter of 2024, the research notes millennials ages 27 to 42 are the most concerned at 83%. The survey finds people are feeling the effects of the higher cost of goods and services, and they remain concerned about inflation. And in addition, 37% said their finances are in worse shape than 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I think it's higher.
Yeah,
I think it's higher. 34% said that their finances are about the same, while only 29% say they're better off than they were 4 years ago.
Do we need qualifiers for the respondents? Do they know the definition of finances? I'm just asking a question.
Well, we've always said you need to qualifiers when anybody takes a poll. Do you know what this actually means?
Yeah. Mom, what do my finances look like?
The research indicates more than half, 52% of Americans believe the U.S. presidency has a major impact on personal finances.
Okay.
and you know what I'm thinking of is I go
48%.
Well, because they're relating it to inflation, and they know that if you promote something like that, that does affect it. But as my dad always, I go back to I mentioned my dad more than I have in a long time today, and I'll never forget when he said, when I got into radio and I was having fun and everything else, he goes, "You're lucky you can do." What's fun for you and everything else. And then when I got into talk radio, he said, you're lucky that you can spend your time talking about, politicians, but you want to know that no matter who's really in Washington, it doesn't affect whether you succeed or not.
Mm-hmm.
He said, if you go for it, he said, if you're always at the top of the game, if you're always at the top of your game, you're going to beat everybody else out. If you prepare correctly,
that's it right there.
If you prepare correctly. And we had this. Again, my dad yesterday was in that, it was, I think, in the mindset that I was 18 years old again because I was getting not a lecture from him, but kindly advice of how to live my life. Which, again, I love it. I mean, I actually love it when he does it. It's just, it's the best thing ever because he's not wrong on anything that he says.
Right.
But, we talked about the fact of, not only working hard, but you've got to be prepared. And we got into the conversation. My dad told me the advice a long time ago, how to succeed in business, never be wrong. When you're in a meeting, never be wrong. And we had that, I brought it up yesterday and he chuckled over it. And I said, yep. And you told me you're in a meeting, you can never be wrong. I said, well, Dad, that's impossible. He goes, no, if you don't know you're 100% right, then shut up. Mm-hmm. He goes, the worst people are the ones that think they're the smartest and they're mouthing off on meetings and everything else. He goes, you're going to find out that the smartest people are the ones that are asking most of the questions.
Yeah, right.
And the ones that aren't afraid to say, I don't know. And so he gave me that advice a long time ago. But the research indicates that more than 52% of Americans believe the U.S. presidency has a major impact on their personal finances. And with the promotion, as we all know, of Biden with all the spending during the Democrats' reign in the executive branch, as we know, that caused the inflation. As we know, that was the major cause of the inflation that we saw. So I understand why Americans think that way.
Right.
Dave Ramsey said, I encourage every American to go out and vote, but remember, what goes on in your house is a whole lot more important than who's in the White House. See?
Well, no, I mean, it is the case because you do have to be in charge of, for a lot of people, it's spending or overspending. You have to be in charge of, the decision to go into debt, what kind of debt to take on, mortgage versus credit card debt, things like that. Those are things that are always in play, regardless of who the president is and which party is in control. Now, the problem is that we saw the massive inflation caused by the spending, primarily at the hands of the Democratic Party and the current administration. And we had record inflation for a generation, and it threw the markets off. The thing that you're looking at now, I believe, is that ripple effect of the market. Even though inflation rates have come down, you still have the prices jumped so high in such a short period of time. You haven't returned to the spending power that people had pre-COVID, going back to 2019. And, those are the things that people look at right now. And they do point the finger at the White House. They point the finger, and they should in a situation like that, because these are choices that were made by those individuals. Even those, Lawrence Summers, don't pass that bill, it's going to be the one that catapults us into record inflation, and he was right.
You could be doing everything right and still have been hurt.
Yep.
by the
Everybody
inflation
is
that
affected by inflation.
that happened,
Yep.
and significantly hurt, especially if you have kids.
Mm-hmm.
You can be, because there are a ton of people out there that are doing all the right things, because Ramsey's talking about the fact that only 1 in 10 people, basically invest 15% of their income.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my father was somebody who, he actually would tell the stories, and there were people that I met that actually used my father's advice, which was, I don't care how much you make. You put away $5 a week.
Pay yourself first.
Yeah, this is going way back. You pay your bills, but you always put aside, I don't care whether it's $5, $10, you live without it. You somehow find a way to do it. You save every single week. And he was a big proponent of direct deposit into whatever.
We've taught my granddaughters that, by the way, and they see the interest that they're making on their savings account, and it makes them less likely. They've said things like, I can't believe I've actually made more money by leaving it there. I mean, they're learning about how interest works and investing and everything else. And once you start that habit, then you see those positive results. That's a lifelong change.
As Ramsey said, but remember, what goes on in your house is a whole lot more important than who's in the White House. The research shows that less than half of Americans believe a written household budget is a way to win with money. That has to change or nothing will. Other key findings, 1 in 3 Americans can't afford Christmas and plan to use credit cards to make up the shortfall. Nearly half of Americans, 49%, report some difficulty paying bills. Gen Z struggling with the most, 69%. 34% said they have at least $10,000 in consumer debt. That means credit card bill.
Yeah.
That's not a mortgage, right? It's consumer debt considered.
Right.
Yeah. Only 1 in 10 adults are investing 15% or more of their income. So there you go. That was a survey of 1,000 U.S. adults. And that's so right there. When you see, my point is, when you see 78% of adults are worried about the economy, that's why Trump is where he is right now.
Yeah,
that's the major reason. Number 2, I believe, would be the border, and number 3 would be crime. That's where he's made the inroads.
Yep. And it's also the pressure that they face if the GOP wins. If he wins and the GOP wins, as we've been saying, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be much harder than it was for him coming in 2016 because of the mess.
Yeah,
there's so many things going on.
Yep.
And it's going to be a lot of work. But, the confidence clearly is there by millions of Americans that he's the one up to the job. So
have no idea how the Republicans are going to in any way reduce spending. I don't know how they're going to do that.
I don't see that.
866-90-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Hey, guess what? 2 weeks from today is the day.
It
is
Election
Day.
Election Day.
And then 2 weeks from tomorrow, we'll be telling everybody, maybe by Christmas we'll know the results.
Yeah, the Supreme Court will let us know the results. Christmas 2026. Yeah. That's what we got going for us. Again, I think with states like Arizona that have already said, "Oh, we don't plan to have the results." Yeah, that's clearly your mission to make sure that you keep people waiting. But if you look at the map now, the way the polls are going, it is possible for him to get to 270 without Arizona and Pennsylvania having their votes in.
Anything's possible.
Yeah, and so we'll see. Well, I don't see him getting 500.
No, I was looking at that the other day when I was on vacation. I was like, what does Gary do on vacation? I was trying to look at the biggest electoral victory in modern times and ever. And it was Reagan against Mondale. He was like 500 something.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Over 400.
Yeah, elector.
There. But remember, just a few years after he was out of office, the Democrats took over.
Yeah.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.